Hello World Wide Web, I'm Shado, the internet personality with the best hair, and it's time for the last of the Death Race reviews. Until Death Race 4 and or Death Race 2050 come out, Death Race 3, Inferno. Another Death Race movie in the reboot series with Luke Goss as a lead character. Therefore, this takes place before the events of the first, but after the events of the second. Carl Lucas was supposedly killed, yet he still races on as the unknown masked racer, Frankenstein. Unknown because no one seems to be able to put two and two together. One day Carl Lucas was burned alive, and the very next day Frankenstein shows up. Mysterious guy, no one knows who he is. Who could guess? Well, he's the best damn racer Death Race has ever seen, and is quickly on his way to winning 5 races, and with it, his freedom! However, a few changes in ownership and race design mix things up quite a lot this time around. How much? As far as I can tell, if there was a rule, they've changed it. At least, up until the point where it starts changing from being erased into death hacky sack, but never mind any of that. Let's take a look at Death Race 3 Inferno and see if any of these changes were perhaps for the better. Eventually, as since they can't use stock footage from the last 2 movies for the main race, instead they just open the film up to stock footage from the last movie. This is a big flashy refresher for what Death Race is, who owns Terminal Island, and what path the sport will take for the foreseeable future. Maybe even being acquired by a totally different company.
As a businessman, takeover talk is common. You have something of value, naturally people want to take it away.
How long until he sells the company?
Wasn't so bad, was it?
Jesus, Wayland, at press events you have the honesty and integrity of Enron. Failing leadership with the sprinkling of lies aside, Wayland, still played by Ving Rhames, has just sold off his prisons, Terminal Island in particular, and the Death Race franchise itself, over to Niles York, played by Dougray Scott. It seems Niles here didn't just want to buy Death Race, but transform it completely.
I'm taking Death Race global. By this time next year, there will be a different race every 2 weeks at a different exotic hellhole with different drivers, tracks, and challenges.
All kinds of challenges. Tiger shark, stampeding buffalo, advanced picross. We ain't holding back! This overexpansion is nice and all, but Wayland isn't convinced the man realizes where the money for Death Race comes from. Frankenstein, plain and simple. It's super profitable, all thanks to the fact that he won 4 races, and in just one more win, he's a free man. And with him, the money goes as well.
How would your little copycat event play without the game's marquee star? That's why you're going to fail.
Cause fuck actually building up other good drivers as larger-than-life personalities. No, we got 1 star, and we're sticking to it. Doesn't matter that the average life expectancy for a racer in this sport is about 90 minutes. York pays this warning no mind, as it seems he already has plans to deal with this issue, but he's not the only one with plans for this movie, as Wayland meets up with Carl Lucas, still played by Luke Goss.
You didn't fix my face at the kindness of your heart, did you? It was infected, I was gonna die, and you'd have lost your star driver.
No, it's not that at all. It's just this thing about masked characters in movies. They seem to have a very difficult time actually keeping them masked, and I think that Discount Kruger was possibly a little too expensive to maintain in this production. This meeting, though, is for Wayland to tell Luke that he needs his help, and Frankenstein's help, for something coming up very soon, which we get no details on, and instead just skip ahead to Niles enjoying the honeymoon period on his Frankenstein purchase, and letting Luke know he's in charge now.
You headed to the Kalahari Desert Maximum Security Penitentiary in South Africa, where you will compete in the first ever desert death race.
So if you think the vehicle designs and muted colors are just trying to rip off Nolan's Batman flicks, don't worry. We can rip off Mad Max as well. Luke doesn't really care about the sales pitch on how amazing this new death race is going to be, considering he had a deal with Wayland for freedom after his 5th win, which Niles very openly gives no shits about.
No, I don't think so.
You don't have a choice, mate, but if you don't want to drive, fine.
That's a great threat there, Niles. Show him you have no problem killing him right now. As long as he can also assume this not having any problem extends to you killing yourself, or at the very least fucking up your face quite severely. Niles makes no secret of the fact that he can't let Frankenstein win that 5th race, but he says, hey, you'll get the star treatment if you go along with this. Well, that and rejecting that to earn his freedom won't work quite as advertised.
You lose, you live. You win, you die.
What if it's a tie? I mean, what then? Do we end up with some kind of fucked up Schrodinger's Frankenstein? With that, it's time to ship Frankenstein off to Africa, along with 14K, because Well, he's not a huge name in the race, but yeah, fuck it. Robin Shu's a good sport about sticking it out through the sequels. Well, when they drop the guys off in the prison, it's surrounded by other prisoners. Obviously, this results in yet another good old-fashioned prison riot, where Frankenstein must save his friends by beating the shit out of everyone else in the movie. Just, one slight problem. Completely destroying all hope that he was ever going to wear that mask for any reasonable amount of time. Fortunately, despite Carl being very overtly displayed in his initial run on Death Race, nobody recognizes him anyway. That is, except for his pit crew.
Lucas. It always was you.
You son of a bitch!
The fuck? Didn't you know? The last movie ended with Frankenstein saying something highly reminiscent of something he'd said to you when he was Carl, and you smirking about that shit, and thus very easily putting two and two together and figuring out that, oh yeah, Frankenstein is Carl and telling Goldberg. Now all of a sudden, none of you have any fucking idea, and this is totally surprising. Thus, everyone is shocked to learn what they've known since 5 minutes after it happened, and don't buy Carl's excuses that he just couldn't tell them the truth.
But I don't think it's wise, right now, that they see us together.
They die. Just tell them the truth, that if the guards think they know, they die. It's a pretty easy way to keep this under wraps, and explain why the hell you didn't tell them, because they die. No time to get bogged down in this, as the death race waits for no one. Also, this race is so different, the cars require a drastically modified design.
She's bigger. Better.
Way bigger. Way better.
Way to walk around the garage without your fucking mask on. Yeah, I know he waited until after he walked into his specific section before taking it off, but you really think that no one's gonna walk past Frankenstein's part of the garage and maybe take a peek and see what he's doing? This establishes not only that his vehicle has been modified to the point it's unrecognizable, but his pit crew is still holding that whole keeping his identity secret as a means of keeping them alive thing against him, and we make no progress on that as we move on to see what Katrina is up to. Looks like they found a new way to up the body count for this contest.
16 beautiful yet deadly women vie for 10 spots as Death Race navigators.
10 spots. They've upped the amount of racers from 9 in the last movie to 11. But they're fighting for 10 spots. This is effectively an all-female free-for-all death match, as we watch the audience just loves watching women kill each other left and right. Going against what the 2008 movie established audience's tastes were, but never mind that. As we could expect, ladies drop left and right, but not Katrina. She pulls out a motherfucking flamethrower and begins roasting bitches alive, while avoiding the long-range attacks coming her way. Oh, yeah, but since she survived to the end but wasn't the one that killed the last woman, she's still morally clean. Never mind all those flaming flappers she left in her wake. At the end of all of it, Katrina and 9 others survived to continue their work as navigators for Death Race. Which is unfortunate considering she doesn't give a flying fuck about Frankenstein anyway.
Good to see you too.
Drop dead.
Come on, move!
Good idea, but I already tried that.
Still have to point out, you knew that Carl was Frankenstein anyway. You had that moment in the last movie, don't you remember? You can't really blame him just because you got drunk and forgot it. Moving right along, we are introduced to how prisoners are kept in the borders of this facility. A handy-dandy tracking device implanted in the back of the neck. We've still got to establish a few pointers about how the track differs from Terminal Island, though.
There are no shields out here. Only offensive weapons. Weapon locations are marked on the map indicated here on the tablet.
But before they appear, you have to get the high score in Flappy Bird. In any case, the 11 racers line up, ready to start the Death Race. And one of them jumps the gun, resulting in a false start. No bother, that just means they can establish those homing missiles they've got, which easily chase the driver down, blowing him the fuck up, and leaving us with 10 racers for the main event. However, this isn't going to be a test of who got the fastest engine, but who can keep their ride together over the gruelingly long track.
Desert racing isn't about speed. It's about endurance and handling.
Hang on a minute, I thought you didn't know shit about this kind of racing.
I don't. It's the first thing that come up on Google.
Research level Decker. Thus the race tears through the desert, along with cars decked out like tanks with huge weapons. It almost looks like a scene out of Mad Max, except for some reason these racers who absolutely want to kill each other don't spend all that much time trying to kill each other. Until Joker, played by Mark Elderkin, gets his cannon working, but is trying to kill Frankenstein, so obviously can't aim worth a shit. Probably because he can't see worth a shit as he's killed by running into a fucking sand dune.
Death Racers down. 9 remain as we enter Kalisha Township.
However, unlike Mad Max and like Death Race, the track goes through a heavily fucking populated area for the first goddamn time in the whole fucking trilogy. Except it's nothing like Death Race because there's no incentive to cause any kind of havoc to the general population. There's no scorekeeping in Death Race beyond where you place and if you're alive or not, so they just concentrate on each other, which takes Pretty Boy, played by Brandon Livanos, out of the race. He's not dead though, so he decides to run off like an idiot, as if we don't already know what's going to happen because of that. Quite a spectacle. If we hadn't already established that the missiles exist, they track people based on their neck implants, and you're not afraid to use them, and that's really making that scene earlier where the 11th out of 10 drivers blew himself up seem even more pointless now. Something a little more important to establish is that this racetrack gets dangerously close to a local rebel stronghold, the Warlords of Kalahari. The guys who think taking small arms to shoot at giant armored death vehicles going by is a smart idea. Well, for now they're just a minor annoyance. The real excitement is the fact that the finish line is just ahead.
Razor takes day one.
And Frankenstein wins the prestigious rank of loser number 1. It's obvious that Luke could have won this, but held back. No bother, that's not really as important as the rival racer trying to murder him anyway, resulting in Goldberg fighting him off, resulting in yet another prison riot, and a terrifying turn of events. Danny Trejo has been cut! Oh, right in the arm. Oh, will he survive this? Yes, there's really nothing to be worried about at all here. We just find out that the physician, Olivia, played by Kim's sister, really likes Goldberg. This checkup is taking too long for Liz, though, who must find out if Goldberg is going to live.
How is he?
Wonderful.
You know, for a dystopian future, they sure as hell improved the way you check a man's temperature. He's not the only one getting some love, as Frankenstein is rewarded for his great racing skills with one of the Navigator babes. Amber, not Katrina.
Say bye to your boyfriend, honey!
Even though the last movie got this reward for coming in first, and now he came in second, so I guess it really was just for being the protagonist. While all this subterfuge is going on, there's some more deals being made between Niles and the producer of this particular brand of Death Race, Salinas, played by Ursa Daly Ward. She's got a generous offer in mind, but Niles flatly rejects it and changes the subject to Frankenstein.
I made a deal with the guy. I was expecting him to renegotiate, but he didn't.
He's planning something.
It's not my birthday. Christmas isn't for a few more weeks. Oh God, what could he be planning? I can't wait. He's going to have to, though, because we skip over to Carl meeting back up with his pit crew, unmasked, of course, to blurt out all those things he wasn't supposed to say or else they'd be killed. It's okay, though. He has a plan.
I made a new deal. And this is what we're gonna do.
And then we even provide a shadow of a hint as to what in the fuck that is. Movie. It's kind of hard to keep in the back of the mind the intricacies of what the hell's going on and try and piece it together when you fucking cut the audio. So who cares about what the fuck is actually going on in the story? It's time for day 2 of the race. Obviously things are switched up a bit, as this time the first person to get through the weapons gate is the only one to get the weapons. However, this also means everyone else can have a chance to get weapons if said person dies. This is made even more of a problem when it seems that Olga, played by Michelle von Schaik, doesn't even use the fucking weapons she has to defend herself. Indeed, it takes until her navigator dies and she's left in a standoff that she figures, you know what, a rocket launcher might help. The fuck? The soundtrack doesn't give away hints to Frankenstein's plan, so you can leave the audio for that in. All this spectacle and skill makes no fucking difference because she just gets run over anyway, meaning 5 racers survive to reach the village on day 2. This time, however, the entire population changes from cheering the race on to protesting Death Race, standing out in the middle of the street like total fucking idiots. The fuck are you laughing about, Discount Handsome Jack? You'd think this turn of events would mean the villagers might be added to the body count, but no. Not even as a means of self-defense, because these protesters railing against the violence and destruction promoted by Death Race show their conviction to peace by dragging a racer and his navigator out of the car and beating them to fucking death in the street with clubs.
is so fucking beautiful.
Jesus fuck, this is the kind of idiot who spends his day watching Dick and Blender challenge videos. Remember that group of bandits, though? Seems Luke here thinks it's a good idea to drive down there and piss them off, resulting in them taking chase and following his ass down towards the finish line. And Danny Trejo blowing the fuck up. Congratulations, Carl. Not only did you fail to help the locals, but you fucking killed your best friend. Ah, well, the point is Frankenstein won the race. But, yeah, Goldberg's dead as shit. Which gives Niles another opportunity to gloat at the man about how firmly he has his balls in a vice.
14K will win tomorrow. You're gonna stall out. Officially, mechanical failure resulted in your loss. I don't want it to look like you were beat. Can't damage your rep now, can we?
Hey, it's not like him pissing off the guys who then, upon swinging by, murder half his pit crew, might make the audience think he might be a slight bit incompetent. Thus, after he points out what we already know, if Luke wins, he dies. We move on to a fellow inmate rambling about how he's not sure that this Frankenstein's even the original, cause, fuck it, he's seen Death Race 2000, he knows how this works. But most importantly of all, Niles has gone over Selina's head and hired someone to take over her job already.
What is the meaning of this?
This is my business.
Yeah, it really shows how great you are at planning ahead when you leave your phone on her desk and just hope that she happens to be illiterate. Because surprise, surprise, she doesn't like the idea of losing her job just because the hotshot billionaire over here doesn't much feel like paying her a fair amount. But as we all could have guessed, he doesn't give a fuck what she thinks. Unlike Katrina, who, despite playing disinterested all movie, still cares about her relationship with Carl.
So did you sleep with her?
Define sleep. No, I did not have sex with that woman. But I did see her naked. She got some banging titties like goddamn! Enough of this drama though, it's time for day 3 of the race, which starts out explosively enough as Razor, played by Bart Fouche, gets access to the weapons and therefore a handy-dandy Gatling gun she uses to pelt Psycho, played by Jeremy Crutchley, rupturing his fuel tank and taking him out of the race.
I'm still alive! I'm coming for you!
Burning Psycho. It's a tough build, but powerful if you play it right. This ain't Borderlands 2 though, so he must reach water fast! That water like 10 feet away, which he fails to do. Fuck it, he deserves to die in that case. Thing is, Frankenstein is very much in the lead at this point, so Niles decides, fuck any pretense of fairness, just fire one of those missiles at him and kill the bastard. However, 14K has a trick up his sleeve too. Flares, a classic countermeasure against homing missiles. Homing missiles that track based on heat, so it wouldn't work on ones that track based on that implant in your neck. Also, they established that these cars didn't have defensive weapons, which flares and countermeasures like that would count as. And also there's a slight fact that the scene was completely pointless, considering the fact that Frankenstein stops before the finish line and lets 14K win as promised. His plan to get back at Niles comes later. Driving down into the prison, he heads towards the control center, which Salinas has handcuffed Niles to, preventing him from escaping. But the explosion isn't too big, allowing all other members of the crew to easily escape. Or not. Or rather, Salinas and company survived, but everyone else in the wreck died horribly. Except for one man who is still alive, but very badly burned.
He just woke up screaming, rambling a bunch of nonsense.
I'm not Frankenstein!
He's obviously still in shock.
And wouldn't you know it, it's Niles York! Which means finally we actually have some hint as to what the fuck the plot of this movie was. Seriously, now that we've reached the tie-up loose ends part of the story, the movie spends 7 minutes explaining the plot to us, as Niles here has Frankenstein's identifying tracking device, and even Liz says, sure, it's him, he's just angry right now. Turns out Carl, Katrina, and fucking Goldberg have escaped, along with Goldberg's new lady, Olivia. As if the movie realizes this requires a fuck ton of explanation, Wayland calls Carl up and pretty much asks him to explain the plot, at which point the movie rewinds everything to go over it bit by bit. Carl had made a deal with Wayland to take Niles down, and while in prison, they actually faked Goldberg's death, and Olivia was working for Wayland all along. They also just so happen to have ejector seats in their car, which normally would kill them in this low-ceiling environment, but fuck it, they need some method to survive. Olivia declares them dead, and disposes of the bodies by letting them run away. But what are the tracking devices? Simple. Implant Frankensteins into Niles, and Lucas can have his revenge not by killing the man, but by giving him the curse of Frankenstein, to be one race away from freedom in a sport where the people in charge will never let you win. Also, Liz stays behind because, fuck it, he's supposed to be there in the first movie. Would be kinda weird if he escaped only to be arrested again. Oh, but Niles isn't taking this curse without a fight.
I am Frankenstein. And I will have my revenge.
Please, no. We went from Jason Statham to Luke Goss. It wasn't exactly a step up. Don't bring it down this far, please. Anyway, that was Death Race 3, Inferno. It's okay. The movie stands at about the same quality as the last one, with a much more imaginative race and far worse storytelling. Terminal Island isn't a bad location for this kind of race, but after 2 movies it was getting a tad stale. The thing is, while taking the race to Africa Live ended up, the deception and secrets were very much a mixed bag this time around. Cut down to its basic premise, the coup wasn't bad. The problem was that they took the easy way out, making sure the audience didn't guess the twists by simply not letting us know what the fuck was going on. Therefore, it's not one of those movies that has subtle hints that you notice your second or third time watching that gives the twists weight. The movie just says, oh boy, that sure was fun, wasn't it, kids? Now, hold on for a minute, because I gotta explain it. Explaining a surprise ending afterwards instead of building up to it is like explaining a joke after starting with the punchline. Just don't do it. Thing is, despite this massive problem, the movie does hold up relatively well. The vehicular carnage is good, and fortunately more time is spent on it in the third movie. The hand-to-hand fights are still a bit lacking, but very fortunately they don't come up nearly as often. A lot of this was okay, but really could have been better. Like Niles. Discount Handsome Jack is the best way I can describe him. He's boisterous, energetic, and egotistical, but doesn't have nearly the charisma to pull it off convincingly. The balance between serious and fun leads a lot more towards serious, making his sillier moments feel almost out of character. But I've rambled long enough. Death Race 3 Inferno is a good enough action extravaganza that feels like it deserves the Death Race title far more than the second movie did. It's not great, but it ticks the boxes of being an adequate popcorn entertainment action flick, coming in at 3 refried Frankensteins out of 5. But whatever happens to Frank and Niles? Now, who gives a fuck? I'm excited for Death Race 2050. Thank you all for watching. I've been Shado. And remember, never underestimate the power of Google.
I'm a big fan of yours.
How big?